All right, so you know how you've been wanting to like really break down tarot symbolism?
Yeah.
Well, this document you sent over, uh, a description of the cards of the tarot,
Mm.
this thing goes deep.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, deep. And it seems like it could be like a perfect guide to understanding the cards in a whole new way.
Oh, for sure. It definitely goes beyond the basics.
Yeah.
It's not just like this card means this, that card means that.
Right, exactly.
It dives into the nitty-gritty of like the symbolism, the attributions, all the little details.
Yeah, okay, so let's just jump right in. The document starts with the four aces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calls them the root of the powers of each element: fire, water, air, earth.
Makes sense.
Yeah, total sense. But then get this. It says they're located at the North Pole of the universe, influencing its very revolutions.
Whoa, hold on.
Right.
That's a pretty wild idea. It's like connecting the tarot to this huge cosmic framework.
Right.
It's not just about like personal fortunes anymore. It's like these cards are tapping into something much bigger.
Yeah.
Forces that shape reality itself.
Okay, so we're talking big picture stuff here.
Definitely.
Like this isn't your grandma's tarot deck anymore.
Right.
This is something else. Now, the document also dives into the court cards, the kings, queens, princes, and princesses.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I found really fascinating is how it connects each card, like the imagery, to specific personality traits and even like astrological correspondences.
It's almost like giving them a personality profile,
Totally.
Like each court card is linked to a specific element, a specific sign, and it goes deep into like the energy behind each one.
Okay, give me an example.
All right, so the Knight of Wands, right?
Yeah.
It describes him as this winged warrior on a black horse wielding this flaming club.
Whoa.
Boldness, a rush of energy, generosity. It's all there.
I can see it.
But then it also hints at this potential for like a darker side.
Oh.
Like cruelty or bigotry if the fiery energy goes unchecked.
Whoa, that's intense.
Right. So it's not just about the positive traits, it's about understanding the full spectrum of what that archetype represents.
Man, this document is making me rethink how I see like all of these cards.
I know, right? It's pretty mind-blowing.
Now, there's also this thing about deacons mentioned.
Oh, yeah, the deacons.
Now, I've heard that term before, but I'm a little fuzzy on what they actually are and how they like work with the cards.
Right. Yeah, deacons can be a little tricky. So imagine each zodiac sign is like a cake.
Okay.
Okay, I like where this is going. Now, slice that cake into 3 pieces.
Gotcha.
Those slices are the deacons. They add these subtle flavor nuances to each part of the zodiac sign.
Oh, okay. So it's like they refine the zodiac sign even further.
Exactly. They break it down into smaller, more specific chunks.
Okay, I get the cake analogy. But how do these deacons play into the tarot?
They bring that astrological depth to the minor arcana.
Okay, so it's not just about the major arcana.
Nope. The minor arcana gets the deacon treatment too.
Interesting.
For example, the 5 of Wands. Its deacon title is Strife.
Okay.
And if you look at the imagery crossed wands flames erupting, it totally reflects that struggle for victory. So knowing the deacon helps you understand the specific kind of conflict the card represents.
It's like getting a closer look at the energy.
Exactly. It's not just conflict in general. It's conflict filtered through this specific astrological lens.
Wow, there are so many layers to these cards.
Right. And we're just scratching the surface.
Okay, so let's move on to the big guns. The 22 keys of the book. The Major Arcana.
Ah, yeah, the heavy hitters.
Now, the document calls them representatives of larger archetypes and universal forces. And what blows my mind is how it connects them to these like huge concepts that go beyond just the basic card meanings.
It's like taking a philosophy class through the tarot.
Right.
These cards deal with the big questions, you know?
Totally.
Like life, death, purpose, transformation, all the stuff that really matters.
So, for instance, like the Hanged Man.
Yeah, classic example.
The dude hanging upside down. We all know the image.
Right.
But what's the deeper meaning? This document says it represents sacrifice and suspension.
Interesting. See, that's where it gets juicy.
Tell me more.
The Hanged Man, he's just hanging there. Right. Suspended. Not acting, just observing.
Waiting.
Yeah. And what if that's the point? What if sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is surrender? Let go of control.
Whoa.
Right. It's like saying, hey, sometimes you got to trust the process, let things unfold naturally.
Okay, so it's not about being passive.
No, not at all.
It's about choosing a different kind of action.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most transformative changes happen when we let go.
Man, that's deep.
Right. And this document seems to be hinting at that. throughout the Major Arcana.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. And we haven't even gotten to the part about how this document approaches divination.
Ooh, yeah, that's where things get really wild.
Okay, well, hold that thought because I need a minute to process all of this.
Take your time. We're just getting started.
Okay, so we've established that this document is not messing around.
Definitely not.
It's cosmic, it's ritualistic, and I am officially intrigued. So before we jump into the divination methods, I got to ask about something that really jumped out at me. This whole thing about invoking HRU, a great angel. What's that all about?
Good question. That's where we see how all this symbolism gets put into practice.
Okay.
This document outlines a very structured approach to reading the cards. And it all starts with invoking HRU, the great angel. That's like the source of the tarot's wisdom.
So we're not just talking about like casual card pulling here.
Not exactly. It's more about creating this sacred space, setting intentions, calling upon a higher power to guide the interpretation.
It's like a whole ritual.
It is. It's almost like a form of prayer or meditation.
Wow. Okay, that adds a whole other dimension to it.
Yeah.
So once you've invoked HRU, what happens next? How do you actually use the cards to answer a question?
Okay, this is where the document gets really specific. It outlines a series of operations, each one with its own layout and interpretation method. And it all starts with choosing a significator card.
Oh, yeah, the significator. It's like choosing a character to represent you in the story the cards are going to tell.
Exactly. And the document is really clear about this. The choice should be based on the person's character and their role in the situation, not just their physical appearance.
So it's not just about picking a card that looks like you. It's more about finding one that resonates with your energy.
Precisely. It's about aligning the reading with that person's unique perspective.
Like this card represents me at my core.
Exactly. So once the significator is chosen, the first operation is to deal the cards into 4 stacks.
4 stacks?
Yeah, each one representing a letter of the tetragrammaton. YHVH.
Hold on, I got Hawaiian Tetra what now?
Think of it as a sacred name for God in Jewish mysticism. Each letter represents a different element or aspect of creation.
Okay, so we're getting into some deep mystical stuff here.
We are. So you deal the cards into these 4 stacks, and the stack where the significator lands,
Yeah.
that reveals the primary theme of the reading.
So like if the significator lands in the stack representing fire, maybe the reading is going to be about career or creative energy.
Exactly. Or if it's in the water stack, it might be about relationships and emotions.
So it sets the stage for the whole reading.
Exactly. It highlights the most relevant area of the person's life at that moment.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all works. And then what? You look at the cards surrounding the significator in that stack.
You got it. Those cards help to tell the story, reveal the underlying dynamics at play.
It's like piecing together a narrative.
It is. And this is where things get really interesting.
Oh.
Because this document actually says that if that initial story doesn't resonate with the person asking the question, you should abandon the reading.
Seriously?
Seriously. It's like saying, hold on, let's make sure we're on the right track here.
Wow. I've never heard of that before. It's like there's a built-in safeguard.
Right. It's about making sure the reading is truly aligned with the person's situation.
I love that. Okay, so what about the other operations? There are a few mentioned, right?
Yeah. The second one uses 12 stacks representing the 12 astrological houses.
Oh, so that's where the astrology comes in.
Yep. Each house represents a different area of life, like career, relationships, finances, home, all that good stuff.
So the position as the significator within those houses shows which areas are most relevant to the question.
You got it. It's like getting a snapshot of the person's life from an astrological perspective.
Whoa, this is getting complex.
It is, but it's also incredibly insightful.
Okay, and there was a third operation mentioned, right?
All right. That one uses the 12 signs of the zodiac.
So it's like refining the interpretation even further based on the specific zodiac sign.
Exactly. It's all about layering those meanings, creating a more nuanced understanding of the situation.
My brain is already doing backflips trying to keep up with all of this.
I know, right? It's a lot to take in, but it's so worth it.
So we've got the cards themselves, the elemental correspondences, the astrological houses, the zodiac signs. It's like weaving together all these threads of meaning.
It is. It's like creating this intricate tapestry that reflects the person's unique situation.
Okay, I'm officially overwhelmed, but in a good way.
That's the spirit. Now, there's one more operation that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
It's the one where the significator is placed in the center and there's a ring of cards around it.
I remember that. What's the point of that layout?
This final operation is all about revealing the penultimate aspects of the question.
Penultimate, so like almost the final outcome.
Exactly. It's about understanding the potential resolution of the situation.
Like seeing how all the pieces of the puzzle ultimately fit together.
You got it. It's a glimpse of the bigger picture.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a handle on this whole divination method. It's like we've gone from the micro to the macro, from the individual card meanings to the grand cosmic forces at play.
Exactly. And that's what makes this document so fascinating. It's not just about fortune telling. It's about understanding ourselves and the world around us.
I'm seeing that. And I have to say, I'm feeling pretty inspired to pick up my deck and start exploring all of this. But before I do, I have one more question. This document focuses heavily on the traditional symbolism of the cards and the ritualistic aspects of divination. But I'm wondering, how do these traditional approaches translate to the modern world? Is it necessary to follow these rituals and interpretations to the letter, or is there room for personal adaptation?
That's a great question, and it's one that every tarot reader grapples with,
Yeah.
There's no one right answer. It's about finding what resonates with you and how you choose to engage with this ancient system.
So some people might stick to the traditional methods while others might adapt them.
Exactly. The power of the tarot lies in its ability to connect us with our own intuition and inner wisdom.
Beautifully put. It's a reminder that the tarot is a living language.
It is. It can be spoken in many different dialects.
So while this document provides a fascinating glimpse into the traditional and ritualistic aspects of tarot divination, it's also an invitation for us to explore, experiment, and find our own unique way of connecting with the cards.
Absolutely. The most important thing is to approach the tarot with an open mind, a curious heart, and a willingness to listen to the messages that emerge.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Stay tuned, folks, because we're going to be diving even deeper into the mysteries of the tarot and this incredible document in our next episode.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.
Okay, so this document is not messing around when it comes to the deeper aspects of tarot. It's cosmic, it's ritualistic, and it's got me seriously intrigued. Now let's talk about the actual method of divination. It mentions invoking HRU, a great angel, and emphasizes the card's positions within specific spreads. What can you tell us about that?
This is where we see the practical application of all that symbolism we've been discussing. The document outlines a very structured and intentional approach to tarot reading, and it all starts with invoking HRU, the great angel associated with the tarot's wisdom.
Okay, so we're not just talking about casual card pulling here. There's a definite ritualistic element to it.
Absolutely. It's about creating a sacred space, setting intentions, and calling upon a higher power to guide the interpretation. It's almost like a form of prayer or meditation, aligning yourself with the energy of the tarot and inviting deeper insights to emerge.
Well, that adds a whole new dimension to the practice.
Yeah.
So once you've invoked HRU, what happens next? How do you actually use the cards to answer a question?
Well, this is where the document gets really specific. It outlines a series of operations, each with its own layout and method of interpretation. And it all starts with choosing a significator card to represent the person asking the question.
Right, the significator. It's like choosing a character to represent yourself within the story the cards are going to tell.
Exactly. And the document emphasizes that this choice should be based on the querent's character and their role within the situation, not just their physical appearance.
So it's not just about picking a card that looks like you. It's about finding a card that resonates with your inner essence and your energy within the reading. I like that. It's like saying, this card represents me at my core.
Precisely. It's about aligning the reading with the querent's unique perspective. Now, once the significator is chosen, the first operation involves dealing the cards into 4 stacks, representing the letters of the tetragrammaton YHVH.
Tetra what now? Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
Think of it as a sacred name for God in Jewish mysticism. Each letter represents a different element or aspect of creation. So you deal the cards into these 4 stacks, and the stack where the significator falls reveals the primary theme or area of life that the reading will focus on.
So, like if the significator falls on the stack representing fire, maybe the reading's going to be about career or creative pursuits. Or if it's in the water stack, maybe it's about relationships or emotions.
Exactly. It sets the stage for the reading, highlighting the most relevant area of the querent's life at that moment. And then the cards surrounding the significator in that stack are interpreted to tell a story, revealing the underlying dynamics at play.
So it's like creating a narrative from the cards. But what's really interesting is that this document emphasizes the importance of accuracy in this initial story. It even suggests abandoning the reading if it doesn't resonate with the querent.
Right. It's like saying, hold on, let's make sure we're on the right track here. If this story doesn't feel true to your experience, we need to adjust. It's a really interesting safeguard to ensure the reading is genuinely aligned with the querent situation.
I love that. It takes the pressure off, feeling like the cards have to fit some predetermined narrative.
Yeah.
It's more about a dialogue between the reader, the cards, and the querent's own intuition. Now, what about the other operations? This document mentions a few.
Yes. The second operation involves laying out the cards in 12 stacks representing the 12 astrological houses.
Okay, so this is where astrology comes in. I'm assuming each house represents a different area of life, like career, relationships,
Definitely.
finances, and so on.
Precisely. And the position of the significator within these houses shows which areas are most relevant to the question being asked. It's like getting a snapshot of the querent's life from an astrological perspective.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like saying, okay, the cards have highlighted this particular area of your life. Now let's see what the astrological influences are and how they might be impacting things. This is getting really layered and nuanced.
It is. And then there's a third operation that uses the 12 signs of the zodiac as a framework, further refining the interpretation based on astrological influences.
So we've got the cards themselves, the elemental correspondences, the astrological houses, and the zodiac signs. It's like weaving together all these different threads of meaning to create a tapestry that reflects the querent's unique situation. My head is spinning a little bit, but in a good way.
It's a lot to take in, but what's remarkable is how seamlessly this document integrates these different systems of knowledge. It's not just throwing random elements together, it's creating a cohesive and insightful approach to divination.
I'm seeing that. It's making me realize that tarot reading isn't just about memorizing card meanings. It's about understanding how all these pieces fit together like a complex puzzle. Now, I'm curious about that last operation you mentioned, the one where the significator is placed in the center with a ring of cards around it.
Ah, yes. This final operation is described as revealing the penultimate aspects of the question. It's about understanding the potential outcomes, the final stages of the situation, and the possible resolutions.
So it's like getting a glimpse of the bigger picture, seeing how all the pieces of the puzzle ultimately come together. And by following these 4 operations, the reader can gain a truly comprehensive and insightful understanding of the querent's situation.
Exactly. It's a very detailed and intentional approach, but it's also incredibly flexible. It allows for a lot of nuance and interpretation, which I think is what makes tarot reading so powerful.
I completely agree. This document has really opened my eyes to the depth and complexity of the tarot as a system of divination. It's not just about predicting the future. It's about understanding ourselves, the forces at play around us, and the choices we can make to navigate our lives.
Well said. And I think that's the beauty of the tarot. It's a tool for self-discovery, for reflection, and for connecting with something larger than ourselves. It's a journey that can be as profound and multifaceted as we choose to make it.
I'm feeling inspired to pick up my deck and start exploring these concepts further. But before I do, I have one more question. This document focuses heavily on the traditional symbolism of the cards and the ritualistic aspects of divination. But I'm wondering, how do these traditional approaches translate to the modern world? Is it necessary to follow these rituals and interpretations to the letter, or is there room for personal adaptation?
That's a great question, and one that I think every tarot reader grapples with. There's no right or wrong answer. It's about finding what resonates with you and how you choose to engage with this ancient and ever-evolving system of knowledge. Some readers might find deep meaning and connection in adhering closely to traditional methods, while others might choose to adapt and personalize their practice. Ultimately, the power of the tarot lies in its ability to connect us with our own intuition and inner wisdom.
Beautifully put. It's a reminder that the tarot is a living system, a language that can be spoken in many different dialects. So while this document provides a fascinating glimpse into the traditional and ritualistic aspects of tarot divination, it's also an invitation for us to explore, to experiment, and to find our own unique way of connecting with the cards.
Exactly. The most important thing is to approach the tarot with an open mind, a curious heart, and a willingness to listen to the messages that emerge.
All right, so remember how this all started. You wanted to figure out how to use this document to get more out of your readings.
Right. We've been all over the place with the symbolism and like the big concepts.
Totally. But now I want to see how it all comes together in practice.
Okay, so let's say you're doing a reading using this documents method.
Got it. I've chosen my significator, done the invocation, all that good stuff.
Perfect. Now remember that first operation. with the 4 stacks representing YHVH.
Yeah, the tetragrammaton.
Mm.
And the stack my significator lands in reveals the main theme.
Exactly. Let's say you're asking about a creative project you're stuck on.
Okay, relatable.
You choose the Magician as your significator.
Makes sense. He's all about action, manifesting things.
Right. And let's say he falls in the stack representing fire action, passion, willpower.
Okay, so the reading is already pointing towards those themes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you look at the cards around the Magician in that fire stack. What do you see?
Let's say I see the 3 of Wands.
Okay, expansion, seeking new horizons.
And right next to it, the 5 of Swords, but reversed.
Interesting. So maybe some old ideas or fears are holding you back.
Wow, it's like a little story unfolding.
Right. And remember, at this point, you check in with the person you're reading for.
Right, make sure it resonates with their experience.
Exactly. Okay, now for the second operation, 12 stacks, the astrological houses.
Got it. And the significator's position in the houses shows which areas of life are most relevant.
Exactly. So let's say our Magician lands in the 5th house, creativity, self-expression, romance.
Okay, so now we're zeroing in on how this creative block is affecting those areas.
Precisely. And again, the surrounding cards provide more clues. Maybe you see the Queen of Cups in that 5th house stack.
Intuition, emotional depth.
Right. So maybe tapping into those qualities could help overcome the block.
Or what if I see the 7 of Pentacles there?
Patience, long-term vision. Maybe this project needs time to unfold.
I'm seeing how each operation adds another layer of meaning. It's like going from a wide-angle lens to a close-up.
That's a great analogy. And then the third operation uses the 12 zodiac signs for even more refinement.
Right. So if our Magician landed in, say, Taurus, we'd consider the Taurian qualities.
Exactly. Practicality, grounding. Maybe the block is due to a lack of planning or a fear of making things concrete.
So many possibilities. I'm realizing how much depth astrology adds to the reading.
It's a whole other dimension, especially with this document's emphasis on those correspondences.
Okay, so we've got the elements, the houses, the signs, and finally that 4th operation with the significator in the center.
Ah, yes. This one's about the penultimate aspects, like a sneak peek at the potential outcome.
So a glimpse of how things might ultimately unfold.
Exactly. The final chapter of the story.
This is blowing my mind. We've gone from the micro to the macro, from individual cards to cosmic forces.
It's a journey for sure, and this document is like a roadmap. It's not just about predicting the future, it's about understanding ourselves and the world around us.
This has been incredible. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the tarot.
Me too. And I think the most important thing is to keep exploring, to keep asking questions.
To find our own unique way of connecting with the cards.
Exactly. The tarot is a living language. It can speak to each of us in different ways.
Well, listeners, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to do just that. Explore, question, and find your own connection with the tarot.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights.
Until next time, keep diving deep.